And now we are going to the next topic, which will be related to the Malta Residency and Citizenship by Investment Program, which is one of the main competitive programs to Cyprus. So I would like to call Mr. George Mangin, the senior partner of PKF Malta, who will be moderating our conference.
Not me.
Yeah. So please welcome Mr. George. Also, I would like to call for a panel Mr. Pavel Reshetnikov, the Business Development Director of Immigrant Invest. Please welcome Mr. Pavel. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Clint Bennetti, Operation Director from Kylin Prime Group. And also, we're still missing one panelist, Mr. Oleg Konovalov from Arcendum. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am George, coming from Malta, represent a company called PKF. It's an international CPA company, so certified chartered accountant in Malta. And we are one of the registered accredited agents for the various products, and mainly the passport investment passport by investment. I'm very pleased to have been chosen to do a moderation on this 1 hour or so of questions. And I have been asked to very quickly give an overview of the products that Malta offers in competition, as we say, with other European countries at the present. Malta started with 2 residence programs. One resident program called the Golden Visa. I'm not going to the various price and ranges, but it is quite an important and quite popular visa program, a golden visa, and we have been very successful in Asia countries. But presently, 1 or 2 of our staff are in Shenzhen, and we've been in a number of China countries, Beijing and Shanghai, and it was and still is a very popular program. I understand that members of the panels are also active in this area, and I'm sure they will give us their views on the subjects. Apart from these 2 resident programs, one of them actually, apart from it's called MRVP, this is the one I just described, and the other one talks about a tax scheme. It's actually a tax residence scheme. So a person will buy a property or rent a property, and if he resides, shall we say, resides for 6 months, he would be paying a minimum tax of 15,000, and be bestowed upon him tax residency. I am referring to the word tax residency because very shortly we have a number of questions which has been selected for us by investors to this event, which discusses the latest, shall we say, hue and cry about Malta and the OECD, which centers about tax residency. But without actually going into this subject, which will go later in a few words, I would like to talk about a little bit about the other program, the main program, there to say, the one that confers citizen by investment. This program, I am a Maltese citizen myself, and I followed through the law in 2013, this new idea by government at that time to introduce the idea of to attract talented people to the island. There were, in the open, there was a public referral program, which was one by one international company, which are also represented here. And the program was being discussed and with a number of consultants and tax practitioners. Over a number of weeks and months, this program was devised and reformed in a number of ways. And I'm pleased to tell you that Malta has resulted in placing a program which is unique in the sense that the idea behind bestowing citizenship is by attracting talent to the island. The idea wasn't to expect massive investment in property or to assist any particular sector of the economy. Why? Because Malta in 2013 was already experiencing full employment, and it still is experiencing full employment now. Our employment rate is lower than US and is the lowest in Europe. So we do not need a boost, a stimulus, as some countries do. Our competitors do need a stimulus to sell their property. There is an inclusion, a small amount for property, and we will discuss this later. So that is, in a nutshell, my introduction to the Malta programs. So there are two residence programs. One of them bestows tax residency, and then there is citizenship by investment, and this one bestows a passport. We do have a set of 5 questions which have been designed by the investors, which I will shortly present to the panel. I will also have my contribution to these and answers to these questions. But before going forward, I would like to present to you Pavel Renostalov. I'm sorry, my pronunciation of your surname. And so that you please introduce your company and your agency to the audience.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to be present here. So my name is Pavel Reshetnikov, and I'm from Immigrant Invest company. Our company was established in 2006, and we have 6 offices around the world. Our mission is to support wealthy individuals in creating global mobility through obtaining residence or citizenship by investment. Actually, we are defining the exact set of needs, and the strategy and depends on the respective goals of the client. It could be visa barrier, or it could be educational, business prospects, it could be taxation, optimization of taxation through second tax residence. So we support our client from the very first step until the last one in all this process. Actually, we are working with the EU programs. We are licensed agent in Malta. We are working with Cyprus. We are working with Portugal, Spain. And also we are working with all the Caribbean programs, being authorized marketing agent. Thank you.
Okay, so the next member of the panel is Oleg, who we kept on looking for you, Oleg. You see, we thought you got lost. There was some Frau who was talking to you and you got carried away. So good luck. So now we found you. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us about, you are the founding partner of Arcendum. So please introduce yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, so I represent a small advisory company from Russia called Arcendum, which I personally have founded only 5 months ago. However, I do have quite a lot of experience in residency and citizenship programs, and I have actually personal experience living and working in Spain and Switzerland, in the UK, etc. And our company specializes in tax residency programs and tax structuring, tax planning, and the solutions that work for our clients usually require relocating or obtaining a residency permit in various jurisdictions, including Malta. And that's about us in a few words.
Thank you. Okay, that was short and very too much to the point, Oleg. So last but not least, Clint Bennetti, also from Malta, I understand. Would you please tell us your group, Kylin Prime Group, with a Chinese dragon as an emblem?
It's a Chilean, actually.
Chilean?
Yes.
Okay, Chilean, excuse me. There you are. The floor is yours.
My name is Clint Bennetti. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I'm the Global Director of Trust and Corporate Services for Kylin Prime Group. I'm also the Managing Director of the operations of Kylin Prime Group in Malta. As a group, we focus on a number of different areas, the main one being migration and residency and citizenship by investment. We are registered in a number of jurisdictions, including Malta, obviously, where I'm based. We offer the Irish program, the UK program, and some other programs in the Caribbean, including Antigua and Barbuda. But in addition to that, we also provide a number of other services to make sure that we provide the full suite of services that the investment migrant would need. These include asset management and funds. In fact, we have funds established in almost every jurisdiction where we're present to be able to help our clients satisfy the investment requirements of those programs. And we also have a trust and corporate services arm of the group that allows us to give a fuller service to our clients who obviously most of them are businessmen that need to do business in a number of different jurisdictions.
Okay. So, as the baton falls into my hands again, I would like to introduce Malta a second time to a number of investors who are here to decide where to place their millions, as it were. And why Malta? I would like to remind some of you that, or all of you really, that the investing in property in Malta has attracted a number of investors with deep pockets, and the reason being that the rate of return on property in Malta is exceptional. Only recently, Forbes has said that the rate of increase of prices, that is the escalation in the value of your investment, is even reaching and exceeding that of Hong Kong. Now, most of you know that Hong Kong is rated as one of the higher places to live in. I'm not saying that prices in Malta are as high as Hong Kong. I'm saying the rate of increase of your investment in Malta exceeds that of Hong Kong. So investors, who I understand 60% of the audience are in that category, may wish to take a note. And I'm sure tonight at the gala dinner and tomorrow at the exhibition, you may be able to meet other providers of property who can give you some more details on where to invest your money. Now, I was given 5 questions to ask to the panel and also to answer myself. And this was, as I said earlier, designed by a group of investors. And one of the first ones, a bit of tongue in the cheek, in the sense that it actually hits on the panic button for Malta as it happens, and it reads as follows. People say that EU is increasingly finding fault with Malta and stiffening the terms and conditioning of its migrant investment program. Will the requirement really change? So this is what the panel and myself would like to give you an answer to. And did Malta take a hit from the situation? So I'm not sure whether I can give my own interpretation. I can very briefly say that the Maltese program is not without a cap. It's actually started about 4 years ago and had started with a cap of 1,800. So it's not a free-for-all. It's the only program, as the panel will tell us later on, that you have to pay a contribution to the state. So it's not for the faint-hearted. So by comparison, it is the most difficult program in Europe. Why? Because if you're looking to place your money in property or in setting up a company in another EU country, then you have value for money. Your money is yours after 3 or 5 years. In the case of Malta, it's the only program, incidentally, the only program approved by the EU, and this calls for a princely sum of 650,000. So without further ado, this was a short contribution, and I ask Pavel to give us your view why OECD is saying that Malta is giving these passports and hiding under the tax residency. Owners of passports can avail themselves of the low tax situation in Malta, which for some of you who may not know, can go down after an issue of dividends to 5%, which is the lowest tax in Europe. And tell us, Pavel, what are your views? And do you agree that we are issuing passports to investors so that they can hide their tax income in Malta?
First of all, regarding the EU reaction on this residency program, actually, I think all of you already heard or read. There is a European Commission report which was issued according to the request of European Parliament. And in this report, it's not a final report, it's just preliminary report. And in this report, actually, EU Commission covers the main topics in which they see, in general, the concerns for all the EU programs, residence by investment programs offered by the EU states. And they are touching, actually, I would say, the following main topics there. It's related, first of all, to the general state prudential ratios. So actually the amounts of the investments received by the country through the citizenship by investment should have certain standards, normatives, and gaps, and it should be controlled on the state level. The second point is criticized is due diligence and anti-money laundering in general. Then they are talking regarding the tax issue, but in this case I don't see any issue because if you obtain the citizenship or residency, it does not mean automatically that you are becoming the tax resident. You should apply for this separately. And they are talking regarding the genuine link to the country, which in my opinion are the most important and the most crucial point in this report. And actually, in my opinion, in general, the Malta program is already quite enhanced. So it's already quite high standards in terms of due diligence. It's a very clear, very well monitored structure of the whole program, how it's functioning. It is under strict monitoring and overview by the respective independent authority. So I think in that sense, Malta already have all the conditions which already fulfilled and partially mentioned in this report. So I don't know what will be the final result, but I think in that part, not really change. Nothing will change a lot. In terms of due diligence, I'm sure all of you knows that there is now this fifth version of the anti-money laundering directive, EU directive, and actually within this directive, it is covered also the investment which are coming for the citizenship or residency, yeah? And actually it is required by the new draft of the directive that it will be applicable also the highest risk and the highest level of enhanced due diligence to those clients. It does not matter who will do this due diligence, either financial institution or state agent. And the directive come into force in January 2020. And I think it's a very good step forward because all the serious companies which are providing this type of services and which are licensed by Identity Malta have a very strict due diligence internal process and could easily stick to the all main requirements. So it is already in place and Malta already can offer very enhanced due diligence.
All right. Well, you gave us a very detailed answer to the question. My very small addition to that, and yours it was very comprehensive before passing to the next speaker, is that IMC has actually written a very strong letter defending Malta and highlighting, if it needs to be highlighted, that citizen by investment does not bestow automatically tax residency, and OECD confusing or for some other reason, hidden agenda, saying that Malta is giving out these citizens by investment so that investors like yours, or the ones they represent, can buy property in Malta and hide their tax revenue in Malta under the fact that they are tax residents due to the owning or the holding of a passport is completely false. And for a very serious organization like OECD, one wonders how they could get their knickers in a twist, as the English say, and confuse the two issues. Unless, of course, there is a hidden agenda, which I'm sure there isn't. The facts are that if you want, and I'm a tax practitioner myself, if you want to avail yourself of the low tax by the issue of dividends in Malta, please do not become owner of a passport, because owning of a passport does not give you a residency, and at the same time, the use of a tax refund, which is so glamored, and it is one of our strong points of attracting FDI, is only available for those who are non-resident and non-domiciled. So by explanation, if you do have residents, they are not allowed to apply for the refund. So OECD is saying people are taking up passports from Malta to avail themselves and to hide away their funds or their money in Malta and pay low tax is completely fallacious. Can I pass over now to Oleg to give us, I'm sorry Oleg, I took some of your wind from your sails, as they say. Thank you.
Yes, so I think the question should be more broad, because there's pressure and attention to Malta, not only from the EU, but also from the European Commission and from OECD and even from the USA. And people actually get a lot of things confused, like you rightly mentioned, they confuse citizenship and tax residency, which are not the same thing, far from it. What is the issue? With the citizenship program, there is some internal political turmoil, let's say. So there are groups of political interest with certain support from the local population who are very negative about the investor program, saying, among other things, that it gives bad reputation to Malta for selling citizenship. That's where also the pressure from the USA comes in, because by obtaining the Maltese citizenship, the person actually receives a visa-free entrance to the USA, and the American authorities are not happy about potential bypassing of restrictions by some people who would otherwise not be admitted to the USA by accessing the country using a Maltese passport. Now, the issue that the European Commission and the OECD have, they concern actually the tax residency program. And the way the tax residency program works, there is of course a fixed sum of 15,000 euros per year which needs to be paid, and everything else is taxed on remittance basis. So only income which is remitted to Malta is taxed. And this by itself does not actually assist any tax avoidance or tax evasion or tax avoidance, because there are double tax treaties, etc., which imply that there is actually taxes paid at source. So the people taking up residency in Malta and not remitting the income to Malta do not actually evade tax, because tax is withheld, for instance, on the same dividends that are being distributed, and this is a problem of insufficient understanding by those who are criticizing it. But in order to deal with this, the Maltese authorities, of course, are introducing additional mechanisms of control. So the due diligence was already very stringent, and what we are now expecting to come in as the next measure is that the source of wealth will be checked for the investors applying for these programs, rather than just the source of funds which are being used for the specific investment.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Oleg. Now, I think that for the audience representing potential investors in property in Malta now know the difference between passport and tax residency. So I think we exhausted the answers to the first question. And can we quickly go to Clint? And the second question, it goes this way, Clint, if you can help us. What is, in your opinion, that makes the immigrant investment program offered by Malta one of the most popular in the EU? Why does it make it the most popular? If it's one, that you can only get after waiting for 12 months. So it's not automatic, it's not 3 months, it's not Coca-Cola machine. You put $1 in, you press, and the bottle comes out. There's no such thing. You have a process, 3-4 stages, and it takes time. And there is a lot of Interpol investigations and what have you. So even that, and possibly the only one which you are paying a sum to the government, a donation. None of the other European or Caribbean countries, as far as I know, I may be wrong, do they expect you to give them money which is not returnable. Malta is the only one. Why do you think Malta is still popular?
I think it's a combination of factors, really, and a good example of why the Maltese residency and citizenship programs are popular can be taken from the Maltese financial services industry in general, which has been quite successful over the past few decades. I think the fact that Malta is reputable is one of the main factors. If you hold a Maltese passport, or if you're a resident in Malta, people know that you didn't get your passport or your residency easily, so you have to be clean. You're not going to come to Malta to apply for residency or citizenship if you have something to hide, because you'll be caught out for sure. Another issue is the fact that the economy in Malta is relatively strong. I think compared to some other jurisdictions, one can say it's very strong. Another factor, I think, is the fact that the programs themselves are strict where they need to be strict, but not that strict where they don't have to. So the due diligence process that you need to go through in order to successfully apply for the program is more or less similar to any due diligence program, any due diligence process that you have to pass to open a bank account in a European jurisdiction. So the rules that apply in terms of AML and source of funds and source of wealth and so on, although many seem to think that they're more stringent than they should be, they're in line with EU anti-money laundering directives. So that makes it even more reputable. So in a nutshell, I think, apart from the fact that Malta is a nice country to live in, it's one of the safest places in the world that you can choose to live in. It's a good place to invest with a very good legal and regulatory regime where you can set up companies, invest in blockchain, set up new companies that follow the new regulations, and Malta is very, very much abreast with these developments. I think all in all that makes Malta a very good package, be it for residency and citizenship, and the fact that the real estate market is booming at the moment is also gives it sort of, it makes it more attractive. I mean, you as I know, we're both Maltese. One of the best investments a Maltese person can make is investing in real estate. If you have some money in the bank and you're Maltese, usually you don't keep it in the bank, you don't invest in funds, you buy property. So both our programs have a real estate element in them. So apart from the other investment elements that are still attractive, that makes it even more attractive than some other programs where the real estate market is not as attractive as it is in Malta.
So as a conclusion, that I've been told our hour passed. I thought we were only halfway through.
Time flies when you're having fun, eh?
Well, they said 2 minutes to go. I think, did your clock went faster than usual? Because I thought we only been here for half an hour. Anyway, so there, and we had 5 questions, only covered 2. And they said, if you don't cover the 5, drop them, you know. So I'm going to drop them. So the one aspect which some of the investors here may be interested to know, why Malta, why it's so popular. It's a country, it's a small country, 450 residents. 6.7% increase in GDP, almost the same, or slightly higher than China of last year. That's for 2017. Unemployment lower than, so we don't need really the money coming in. We're not after pushing the real estate. We're not after pushing, we need all the FDI that can come through. However, we are a proactive country, and I'm not part of government, but as Signor Bennetti say, Clint, the country is all the time reinventing itself. We are now the only country in Europe which has last week regulated blockchain and cryptocurrency. And this is the industry of the future. For investors like yours, it may be good to know that this country means business and it's open for business. We have 2 minutes, or even less than that. No extra time, apparently. So would you please, the panel, give us concluding, very, very sharp, telegraphic concluding. Pavel, it's yours, on what we have discussed. Of the 5 questions, we only have tackled 2. So we either come next week or we forget them. We're going to forget them. All yours.
Okay. Just from practical point of view, I don't want to mention again that Malta is in very good shape and very attractive country in the EU. Yeah, so actually, if we take into account the major part of our clients, the needs, yeah, so they choose Malta program to the reason that this is part of EU. Yeah, so you have an access to European Union. With all the respective benefits here, as well as you have a visa-free travel to United States, and this is very important for our clients because usually the children of our clients are studying at the universities of United States, and also a very important thing is that Malta allows double citizenship. And this is a crucial point, for example, for our clients, because a major part of them have the business in the home country, and they would like to keep this business as well as the citizenship. And I would say that this is the key points, additionally to the points already mentioned here.
Thank you. Now, the next one is Oleg, who very quickly, because 2 minutes, I think, and no extra time.
But are you sure? Are you sure it's 2 minutes? Sorry, is it 2 minutes for the whole discussion or for one question?
2 minutes.
I think
we have an extra hour to go, do we? You said we can carry on until lunch break.
have 10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes, that's good. With questions from the audience. Excellent. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought for 1 hour is in the past.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So I'd like to actually sum up by answering the question which was addressed to Clint, that in fact the popularity of Maltese programs is not limited only to the citizenship, but actually all three programs, the citizenship, the residency and tax residency,
It's not doing well,
are
is it?
particularly popular. The citizenship, of course, is one of the fastest programs to getting an EU citizenship which is available, and the quality of the Maltese passport is one of the highest in the world. That's what's causing investor interest in this program. The tax residency program has very attractive conditions. So in the modern reality, it is very hard to be a tax nomad, and Malta is offering the solution for those who are not spending 183 days in any country to actually be a tax resident and have legal grounds for being tax resident in a very attractive jurisdiction. And then the residency permit program, well, it has one of the most affordable entry-level requirements in the EU compared to all the other golden visa programs, while giving access to the Schengen area. And actually it is one of the few programs which automatically grants permanent residency rather than having to wait for the permanent residency status for several years, which is the case in other programs.
Okay, so I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, working perfectly. So Clint, we thought 2 minutes. We give an extra 10. You see, they
I'll take
like
my
us.
time then.
They like extra time. Don't score in the last few seconds. So it's all yours. But, there is an aspect which we didn't cover, which is, if you don't mind, Clint, there are a number of questions that applicants have not a perfect way how to apply, and the regulators in Malta tend to be quite strict, punctual on matters. This goes contrary to the criticism that it's an easy jurisdiction. You come, a Coca-Cola machine, put the coin and the money comes out. So tell us, and tell us the investors, how can they prepare their clients themselves so that they have passports which are certified, they will have funds. They now, the IIP has changed the rules, made them a little bit stricter than it used to be. You need 6 months bank statements. Used to be 3 months. So now, you not only have to show evidence of your source of income and source of wealth, but documentation are getting longer. How can you help clients surpass this difficulty, this pitfall?
I think that this ties into my answer to your previous question. The fact that the program is becoming slightly tougher to satisfy gives it more credibility. So I don't think that we should look at it as something negative, but it's more of a positive. So it's a plus point for both the residency and the citizenship program. I think that what's really important for investors to keep in mind and to look for is a good agent that has good experience, possibly not only in the migration area, but also in other kinds of financial services, that has the experience needed to guide them, satisfy the requirements, which, as we all know, are quite strict. We, for example, at Kylin Prime Group, we have a wealth of experience, if I may say so myself, in these matters. So we are able to ask the right questions, we're able to guide the client to provide the right answers, and we try to explain as much as possible how important it is to be transparent. Because as soon as a client tries to hide something, the authority will catch them out. If that happens, they're going to be looked at in a negative light, and they're going to attract suspicion, even if they have nothing to hide. So the important thing is to be as transparent as possible. Also, as subject persons, we as agents are required to conduct these checks ourselves. So if the client passes our tests, if you know that your tests are good, the way they should be, the client can rest assured that he's going to pass the test of the agency. So basically, in a nutshell, what's important is that you find an agent that is able to do his job properly, not cut corners, be as frank and honest with you as possible with respect to the requirements, and not just be after your fee to onboard you, and then he'll say, well, if it doesn't go through, I just got my fee anyway. And an agent that is able to help you meet the requirement. And it is quite easy to find, I would say, in Malta, because all of the operators in the industry have years of experience in other industries. So although the citizenship by investment and residency by investment industry in Malta is quite young, well, it's young in itself as an industry, you can rely on the experience that people would have in other areas. So I don't think that it's a drawback at all. Actually, it's one of the plus points. Personally, if I see a client that would come, for example, for corporate services to us with a passport of a country that gives out passports quite easily, I obviously need to make sure that I do my checks extra well, because I know that maybe if he got that passport easily, he might have had something to hide that he wasn't caught out. If someone comes with a Maltese passport and you know that he wasn't born in Malta, so he acquired it through investment, your mind is sort of at rest, because you know that if he managed to get that, at least up until the time that he got the passport, he was clean, because otherwise he wouldn't have managed to get it.
So our investors here in the hall, can we expect some questions from them to see how we can help them in their choice of countries? Obviously, we cannot blow our own trumpet, and say Malta is the best, because it's obviously it's not to be expected. However, we also do know that during the 2007-2008 crisis, world crisis, where a number of European and American countries have went under the recession, okay, and had to cut pensions, austerity, wages had been reduced. Malta did not go through that misery, and has plowed very nicely through the recession. And we are proud to say that Finch, which is the credit agency, given us an A+. So would you like to invest your money and your property in a country where your banks a few years ago were not there anymore? No. You would like to go in a country where the banks are there and they will be there for next year and the year after. So can I provoke some questions from the floor? Please do put because we only had 10 minutes, including question time. Do I see any hands coming up?
So we still have time for one, maybe two questions regarding the Malta program. Do we have questions?
They tell me no champagne for the Malta group if no questions are put to us.
Great.
Tonight.
Okay, so I would like to thank you for all participants from Malta panel, and please welcome this applause. Thank you. Now we'll have a short break for coffee for 15 minutes, and we will come back with the last but not least panel regarding the potential of Caribbean countries. Thank you. See you in 15 minutes.